So your creative strategy research has been conducted. You've roadmapped, produced, edited, and finalized the creatives that you want to test. You even have a naming convention ready to go. So let's launch those creatives. In this lesson, I'm going to show you how to confidently test your ad creatives, regardless if you have a quote unquote small budget or a $1 million plus per month budget. And I'm gonna let you in on a little industry secret that I've legitimately never heard anyone else say on the internet. And it's this: there are multiple ways to succeed. In fact, every single media buyer and growth director that I know has a slightly different way of running and optimizing their ad accounts. So I'm gonna do something a little unconventional in this module. I am going to show you 2 different ways to structure and test your ad creatives. And there's really 2 big reasons why I want to show you these very different ways of approaching your ad creative. Number 1, they're so different that it's almost comical. So I really want to show you, hey, this is what it looks like to structure an ad account that is full algorithm versus one that is a lot more manual. I'm also going to give you my guidance on which scenario I think is going to be best for you based on your budget and based on your experience with Facebook ads. Also, just candidly, I think that the more knowledge you have about the different ways that people are running these ad campaigns, that only benefits you in the long run. Ultimately, I'm not really here to push any agenda aside what's going to work for each individual brand. A lot of times I see really different strategies working for different brands. So it's really hard for me to give blanket advice on which one you should do. So I really want to be able to give you the tools so that you can make the decision on which one is right for you based on your unique scenario. So let's dive into what I would do for new accounts or budgets that are below 100K per month. So this approach is what I would like to call the full algorithm approach. This is definitely something that Charlie the Disruptor, for instance, is a huge advocator for. And I really see that this type of approach is really good for D2C and e-commerce, and especially those smaller budgets, and especially for the ad accounts that are new and haven't had that much going through them. So even if you're going to start off with a bigger budget, but you have a bit of a new account and a new pixel, this is probably something that I would start off with. Also, it's just going to be a lot less to manage. In fact, if I was starting an ad account tomorrow, this is likely what I would choose regardless of the ad spend, right? So let's hop into this ad account, right? We have one campaign. So this is going to be a sales objective campaign. It's going to be Advantage Plus budget or CBO budget. And this specific campaign or account is detailed for a budget of $3,000 per month. And let's hop in here, right? Now, if you were launching ad creative for the first time and you had this type of budget, this is exactly what I would do. I would launch 2 ad sets, one that is an interest stack and one that is a broad, completely open, no interest targeted, no lookalike. And I would test 3 image graphics. So I would do an us versus them, a features point out, maybe a before and after, any other type of image graphic that you want to test. I would test those 3 and put each of those same 3 creatives in the broad and in the interest stack, with the idea being, hey, you want to see which one is actually going to perform the best and get the most amount of purchases, highest ROAS for you. I'd really go after the one that's getting the most amount of purchases though. And really what you're going to do here is see which one's going to work the best. And if you find that one of your ad sets, hey, isn't profitable, isn't actually getting you the type of data and metrics that you want, turn it off, right? And then when you have a new creative to test, then you would take that same targeting, duplicate it, and then put the new ad creative into that new ad set while still keeping your previous creative on as long as it's continuing to run. So you would just go through this cycle loop of, okay, I have, really as many creatives as I can that are still getting me the right results. And then every 2 weeks or so, I would do a new creative test. And I would suggest just doing okay, I want to test a new UGC ad. So I'm going to have 2 ads, so a variant of the same strategy. and I'm just going to put that into its own ad set inside there. Now, if you find that you're running into the issue where those ad sets are not getting the right amount of spend, then what I would do is I would just put a minimum or maximum ad set budget so that you can make sure that it's getting at least a little bit of spend. Now, here's how you'd begin scaling that type of thing. Now, if you find that you are getting the results that you want on Facebook ads, so you're getting the right amount of purchases, you're seeing that back-end Shopify data, and honestly, your business is growing and it's growing by using this type of advertising, then I would simply increase your budget 20% every 3 days. If your risk though, or if your risk tolerance isn't that high, then reduce it. Maybe only reduce 10% every week or something like that. It's really gonna be dependent business to business. And the creative testing framework that I would suggest is, start off by image testing, right? And then maybe for the next test, try a UGC ad and have 2 variants of that. Maybe then after that, try a founder's ad and 2 variants of that. And then every week, really make the determination, looking at your ad account, hey, what should I turn off? What's not profitable? What's no longer getting me those purchases? And also making the decision, can I increase spend? Now, what's interesting to know is I've actually seen this type of ad account setup work up to spending $20K per day, which is quite a bit more than $100 per day. So that's why I would also say, if I was going to be starting an ad account from scratch, I would go doing more of this algorithm broad approach because it is a lot less cumbersome to manage. You're not having to increase your ad sets day after day, and you're not having to manually tweak things as much. Really, the Advantage Plus or CBO budgeting is able to distribute your funds in the way that's really the best for your efficiency. And if you find that, hey, some weeks something isn't getting as much spend, that's probably for the best because it's probably not going to perform as well. But again, if you are just trying to get a data read on a certain creative, that's the only time that I would recommend then putting that minimum budget amount in that specific creative test. Now let's talk about big budget accounts or legacy accounts. So if you're spending 100K per month or more, you probably already have a certain system of doing things and conducting the media buying on your account. And really the most important thing that I've found for brands operating at these higher budgets is you really just need to have an isolated campaign for conducting that creative testing, a sort of sandbox approach, I'd say. And the reason why is because you want to isolate your learnings, get the data read on it before you start distributing it across other campaigns. And the reason why I don't recommend going the full algorithm approach is because I've seen a number of times where we've tried hyper consolidating campaigns, especially at higher spend levels, and it ended up tanking performance because I think we weren't able to reach as wide a net of people, and Facebook was just tending to hit the same people over and over again. That's my theory anyways. So if I was managing a brand that had a 500K per month budget, this is probably what I'd end up doing, especially to start. Number one, I would have a retargeting campaign just to begin, but that's something that I'd very quickly test into to see if it was even incremental, if it was even adding more value. But as a baseline, I'll keep it there and test into it, right? And really, I'm gonna have one ad set there that's gonna be encompassing website visitors as well as social engagers, right? And that's gonna be pretty low budget, $500 per day. Now, I'm also going to be testing out an Advantage Plus campaign. Now, that's likely going to be a lot more retargeting, and I'm gonna make sure to make it so that it's not reaching out to past customers. But I tend to find that that is going to have a budget that's slightly higher than retargeting, but not generally as high as your prospecting campaign. Prospecting scaling, so every time you find a creative winner, what you want to do is you want to pop it into a net new campaign that then has maybe a lookalike stack, a broad audience, and then maybe an interest stack that you found to work. And this is going to be only ad creative that has performed for you in the past. Now, if we go back to this prospecting testing campaign, this is actually where we're going to launch all of our net new creative tests. So you can see here, we have about 10 creative tests that we're listing. And really every single time that we have a new creative to test, we're gonna make 3 to 4 variants of that test, launch it in a new ad set, maybe at $200 per day. And then as we see results, we're gonna scale it up inside of that inside of that specific ad set. So you can see here, we have it, we have this one at $1,200, this one at $22. And as we see results going up and up and up, that's how we're going to continue pushing them. Now, to be honest, I would probably actually do this CBO, which is fine. At which point, if I needed to control the minimums and maximums, then I would do that at the ad set level. But there are also a number of brands where I see that they really strictly use ABO and they don't use CBO. So again, it's more of a media buying decision for me. This daily budget, which is going to be about $17,000 per day, is really broken down in this way. So this is how I would start. Again, I'd probably kill off that retargeting campaign, especially now that the Advantage Plus campaign is there. And I personally have not found it useful to start creative testing in Advantage Plus yet. And I think that's because a lot of those people are actually end up just being retargeting audiences, and it's really hard to segment those people retargeting versus prospecting. So I really do still like to try and have the prospecting campaigns and the creative testing campaigns trying to find those net new audiences. So that's why I tend to keep that separate right now. Now, what you do when you find a creative winner is you're going to duplicate that creative winner, not the ad set, just the individual creative, into your retargeting campaign, into your prospecting scaling campaign, and then even potentially adding it into your Advantage Plus campaign as well, and scaling those up from there. And again, the scaling approach that you should take on these bigger budget accounts, you're going to be increasing them and decreasing them a lot more routinely day to day, I've found. But if you're starting to scale and you're seeing good results and you're getting the type of creative that is actually performing for you, 20% every 3 days does just as well. But there are times where, to be honest, I'm double the ad spend one day and then hold off for a few days. I really like looking at the budget in terms of these bigger spending accounts as like an overall, not just ad set to ad set. So I wouldn't necessarily worry about, we can only increase 20% on the specific ad set. No, you can take the certain budget away from specific ad sets and then putting them entirely into other ads. Just make sure that the overall increase and decrease on the account spend level is within that 20% guideline if you're starting to scale up. All right, I feel like that one is going to have a lot of questions. So be sure to let me know if you have any questions about that one inside the Facebook group. I'll see you in the next lesson.